Back on the links here the day after the U.S. Open. We are being joined now by Charlie Howe, who's the tournament director of the U.S. Open, getting set now to turn the page to 2023. Already, yes, we're talking about LA Country Club. Why not here in Southern California doing that? Charlie is in Boston now, has spent the day and the week and the month and I don't know, maybe the year at Brookline, the country club. It's good to have you on today, Charlie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure being on, Trent. Thank you.
All right, so first things first, you get set done with the 2022 U.S. Open, a great championship, really a fun 4 days out there and everything going into it. Watching on Sunday here from SoCal, it was just a blast watching this tournament. What was it like from your perspective?
Well, I look forward in the coming days where I can maybe sit down and watch some of the coverage myself, but you know, the number of text messages and calls from friends in the industry and actually some friends in Los Angeles that got to watch and are excited for next year. Pretty incredible from our perspective when you think of the last time we had a U.S. Open at Brookline at the Country Club was 1988 with Curtis Strange being the champion. So anytime you come back to an historic club, they're one of the 5 founding members of the USGA and get to show the golf course that stood the test of time. It was pretty amazing to see that last putt drop and Matthew Fitzpatrick be our 122nd U.S. Open champion.
So how do things work like from your perspective? So you have LA that you're getting ready for. Are you also like how involved are you in the setup here for the 2022 Open?
So I arrived at Brookline June 6th. So really the week before. The way our U.S. Open team has been, certainly from an operations, logistics standpoint, and public safety, all the inner workings that take to put on a major championship of this size and caliber. I moved into the Los Angeles area in late January to start preparations for next June. My time here at the Country Club was more on the player movement, fan movement. So when we think about our 3,500 volunteers that we have that commit in their time and energy to get back to the championship. So really it's all hands on deck for US Open. We have an even and odd year team and to kind of leapfrog each other 2 years in advance and work with the host club and host communities to put on a championship.
I know one of the things that people have been raving about was just the logistics and how everything seemed to go at the Country Club, which is a difficult place for that to happen. Now as it shifts to Los Angeles, Southern California, massive market, you know that everybody is going to be begging to be there on the grounds at LACC. What are some of the things that maybe you take away from that experience and getting set for next year?
Well, there's some similarities. We leave a great sports market in Boston and then really turn the page, as you mentioned, and get to Los Angeles next year. We haven't had a U.S. Open in Los Angeles since 1948 with Ben Hogan winning at Riviera. We have never had a U.S. Open at Los Angeles Country Club, so we couldn't be more excited about what lies ahead. But we have one of the best teams in all of golf, I think, when you think about outside the ropes and logistical plans, the transportation. As mentioned, there's a fire and EMS and police involvement. You know, we have a first aid services committee. There's a lot of inner workings and a lot of moving parts. And I think we have a great team and looking forward to a challenge of Los Angeles and what that site provides us. But it'll be exciting. And we look forward to sharing more information about ticket availability in the coming months. And if people are interested, certainly in attending the championship next year, I would urge you to go sign up for more information on usga.org/tickets.
Charlie, as you know, that's just a phenomenal track there at Los Angeles Country Club. What are some of the things that, as far as the golf goes, how involved are you in course setup, the way the layout's going to be, the routing? Like, what kind of involvement do you have in that?
Not as much involvement when you say inside the ropes. Much of as being the championship director for the 123rd U.S. Open, it is a lot of those logistical elements, and so much of my job is working with the members of the Los Angeles Country Club, making sure that they have a great member experience and that the impact of what a U.S. Open brings is minimal or as minimal as it can be. So really enjoy working with them, but then working with the city of Los Angeles. You have one of the best sports commissions in all of the country, headed by Catherine Schlossman of LASEC, and no stranger to events, and they've been critical as far as helping us navigate the relationships there. And so that's a lot of what I'm doing outside the ropes, but we have a team headed by John Bodenhammer and Jeff Hall and Jason Gore when you're talking course setup about how fast the greens are going to be or how high the rough is. And they're really the team that ultimately is on the ground, and I work with them to kind of coordinate their visits. And certainly as it impacts, outside the ropes, we have a very collaborative relationship there.
It'll be interesting to see what it is like inside the ropes in LA. What'd you think of the way Brookline played this week?
It was fantastic. When you think of these historic venues, and LACC is one of them, despite not having a U.S. Open, but certainly had the 2017 Walker Cup and played spectacularly that over those 2 days of the match. But Brookline showed its teeth. The wind was up. We had some different New England elements. Today was a gorgeous 70 degrees sunny day with some wind, but yesterday was pretty chilly here at Brookline, and it probably showed on television how difficult some of those conditions can be for the players.
I know Saturday the scores were especially high throughout the week. What's this? I think I read 3 straight U.S. Opens now. The winner is at 6 under. I know that for a long time, protecting par was something that was really important to the USGA. These 6 under scores, again, that's not crazy low considering what you see on the PGA Tour.
Right.
But how'd you feel about the way that the guys were able to play out there? Because there's been talk a lot of guys, if you could get birdie pretty much every hole you could, or you could run into some real trouble too. Is that something you guys talk about in the setup? Are you involved at all in that?
Yeah, the philosophy from a U.S. Open is to test the best players in the world and to identify the best player in the world for our country's national championship. And you'll hear that we want every club in their bag utilized. It's not going to be the best putter that wins that week or the best driver that wins that week. They have the complete game when they're holding that club in their hands, and then it's the game in between their ears. The U.S. Open provides a mental test. They're going to struggle at times, and it's how they rebound and respond. And we want them thinking around their golf course. And I thought our setup team, executed that beautifully, and it was on display. And I think our players, and what we hear from our players, is when they win the U.S. Open, they know the effort and what it took and how meaningful that is. It's not, a 20 under, win. They've grinded, they've earned it, and that's why their name's on one of the best trophies in all sports.
I'm curious to know the relationship too between like the USGA. Obviously, you're working with the club, but Gil Hands, I know, has been a big part of a couple of majors this year. He's heavily involved in what's going on at LA Country Club as well. What's the relationship like with the architect and the team that's putting the course together in the years going into a U.S. Open?
Great relationship with Gil Hands. I saw him earlier in the week, and while I might not have that close of a relationship, certainly our setup team does. And yeah, we're getting familiar with him. A lot of the courses that we've been at, Wingfoot, recently, obviously Brookline, the Country Club, LACC, he's had some relationship with the club as far as restoring it to, really how those golf courses were intended to be built and played. And he's a historian of the game. So it's really incredible to see him and our team work together to, again, try to, keep within the original architect's, eye of how they wanted that course to play.
All right. So now let's continue to look ahead here at 2023. So this tournament's done. U.S. Open 2022 in the books. You are on the clock now. It officially starts. You got a year to get things ready to go. What does the schedule look like for you now? What is the process like in getting ready for 23?
We've got a team of 5 now on the ground at the Los Angeles Country Club. We've got an office that kind of works on their south course. So they have a 36-hole facility there. And so we're starting to recruit volunteers. We've been off to a great start working with the SCGA and other partners that we have within the Los Angeles market to get that word out. But we recruit 3,500. And there's 20 different committees that they serve on. I mean, they're truly the backbone of our championship. The USGA alone will have, just over 100 staff members on site. So you can just kind of put those numbers side by side and how the championships are conducted. And that's really with the help and efforts of volunteers. For us, we've got to really think about the parking and transportation plan and how that impacts the immediate community. And we want to make sure that it is not as impactful to the immediate surrounds and the day-to-day lives of people in Los Angeles and certainly in the immediate Beverly Hills manner. And then working on the club and the members experience and the fan experience. We're excited to, as I mentioned earlier, be back in Los Angeles. And it certainly has been so long from a US Open Championship perspective and the market that it provides. And like I said, going from one great sports town in Boston to another in Los Angeles. And I think it's just going to be terrific next year to see the energy and excitement that when we bring our US Open, into town.
Charlie, I think it's also fitting. Here we go. It's going to be 15 years removed from one of the great sports moments in Southern California history and golf history and all in 2008. I know you were there as an intern, if I understand that correctly. What was that first taste like being with the USGA there for Tiger in 2008?
I mean, life-changing from a career perspective, working in a sport management, got a master's degree and went to Torrey Pines and really just had no idea of the really the size and scope, whether it's, an NFL Super Bowl, but just really the behind the scenes and how many jobs are involved, how many vendors, and just all that it takes to put on a US Open. It truly is building a small city, right? We're different from SoFi. It's not a permanent stadium. We have to put in sometimes, where our caterers are going to be cooking. Everything's temporary in nature. So it's a lot of working relationships with the club and with our vendors to do that on time and really build something that's special for our fans and showcasing the golf course.
Charlie, I'll tell you, I remember being at that tournament, and you guys used to give out these little, I don't know, like not GPSs, but there was like a scoreboard watching. It was like what you would have on your cell phone now, but that did not. Pulling up a leaderboard on your cell phone didn't really exist in 2008. So I remember being a young broadcaster, just shouting out scores to fans hanging out there, just how much fun that was. And looking forward to seeing you and the team back here in Southern California. LA Country Club, we know, is going to be a spectacular sight. Looking forward to, on this show, breaking down LA Country Club a little bit more. And looking also forward to touching base with you maybe as we get a little closer. Congratulations on Brookline in the books. And, hey, man, you're on the clock now. I'm excited.
We are as well. We can't wait. It's going to be an unbelievable championship. And, the Los Angeles Country Club is going to play fantastic. The North Course is going to test the best players in the world. And, fast forward 365 days and we'll have a putt go in and we'll be crowning our 123rd U.S. Open champion.
There you go. That's Charlie Howe, the tournament director for the 2023 United States Open at LA Country Club. My name is Trent Rush. You're listening to On the Links here on AM 830.